Ready?
Thank you, Jane and Jody and George and the others behind me. I'm very, very happy to be here today. Again, my name is Nicole Steele. I am the Executive Director of Grid Alternatives Mid-Atlantic, and I get to talk about clean energy, which is obviously what I've been doing for the past 5-ish years. But I'm very happy and excited to be talking about clean energy to a room full of investors and bankers and financiers and those who are interested in this space, because mark my word, this is where you want to be. This is where we need to be. It's important to be investing in clean energy, specifically solar and storage and solar and EVs and all of the things. But what I'm going to talk about today is really what Grid Alternatives has been doing and why it's important to be making sure that this clean energy transition includes everyone. So there's going to be a bunch of lovely pictures going on behind me. Feel free to take a look at them. They're way cuter than my mug, but they really show the human element of clean energy and where we can be taking this new energy transition. And Todd's back there making those changes, so I'll make sure that happens. But Grid Alternatives started about 15 years ago out in California with 2 engineers working at a solar company. Obviously, 15 years ago, solar was still very new. And they're realizing that all of the systems that they were designing and engineering were for very wealthy individuals who, it's great that they'll see a utility bill reduction, but do you know who would benefit the most from clean energy and seeing solar on their rooftops? This is the lower income, low to moderate income communities that really did not have access and currently still really did not have sort of broad access to the financing needed to go into this clean energy transition and get solar on their own rooftops. So they started an organization called Grid Alternatives out in Oakland, California, specifically to serve low to moderate income communities and provide that solar at no cost to those homeowners. Fast forward 15 years, let's say fast forward about 9 or 10 years, and here we are in this new clean energy transition, and there are about 9 offices across the state of California, covering the entire state. There are offices in Nicaragua, in Nepal, and we're doing work in Mexico. There's an office in Colorado, and then there's my office. We're physically located in Washington, D.C., but we cover the Mid-Atlantic. We opened our doors about 5.5 years ago. It was me at my kitchen table, in my stretchy pants, trying to figure out what in the world do we do to make solar accessible to everyone. And so we were able to successfully build out policies that support Solar for All programming and incentives and funding mechanisms to make this work. And so we started out with the traditional model of putting solar on single-family homes. And as part of that, we also said we need to be making an economic change as well. So we need to make sure that folks that we are serving with solar are also able to see the benefits economically through a good career. Now, if you look at the Solar Job Census report, still today, just in 2018, the last report that came out says that 90% of solar employers in the Mid-Atlantic say it's somewhat or very difficult to hire qualified employees in the solar industry. Now, how are you going to build the solar industry and have this huge clean energy transition if you don't have people that work in that industry that are qualified? So we started a jobs training program as part of that. So all of our installations include job trainees, every single one of them. So if you're a homeowner, they're up on the roofs. If we're working with an affordable housing partner, they're up on those roofs. We've even partnered directly with the city of DC, and we have a both in-classroom and on-the-roof training. So we call that SolarWorks DC, but it's working towards becoming an accredited program, and so fingers crossed that by the end of this year, well, I should say into 2020, we will have an accredited certification program through IREC that will allow for the support of our trainees. And our trainees are coming from the same neighborhoods that we are providing solar to. And so, when we get out and we work with Miss York and we put solar on her rooftop and we utilize the solar policies and incentives from DC to put that on her roof at no cost, we're also putting her cousin on the roof and giving a job to her uncle that's doing the electrical upgrades. And so we're making sure that everybody is part of this clean energy transition. Now, I talked a lot about single family, and we're also partnering with affordable housing complex and affordable housing providers because it's imperative to continue to build sort of the additional access to solar. And so that creates new jobs. Sometimes it's a direct bill benefit depending on the partnership. We also do something called community solar, which is ground mount, typically a ground mount array, but we're doing Grid's largest ground mount solar array to date in Washington, D.C. If you can imagine that there's 6 acres of undeveloped land in Washington, D.C. to put solar, that's what they're doing. And we want to see that happen all over the country, particularly here in Virginia as well. That 2.5 megawatt array that we're putting in the ground today is going to serve over 800 families, 800 low-income families in D.C., and it's in their neighborhood. And so it's tangible, they're part of the installation, and they're able to see how they're able to see that bill impact. So those folks are disproportionately impacted by their utility bills every single day. And through this community solar array, they're gonna see a 50% bill reduction. Now I talked about, we provide bill reductions through solar deployment, we provide job training opportunities for folks in the communities that we serve, but what's also important is to make sure that when we're talking about this new clean energy revolution, that revolution needs to be diversified. When I started in the solar industry, it was a sad 15% women. Like, that is unbelievable when you're talking about sort of this next revolution of, sort of technology. That has gone up to about 22% women since we've been working in this space, but we have a women in solar program. We're working with other organizations to make sure that more women are able to enter into this field. It is a field that women are attracted to, but we need to be making sure that we're creating a space where women want to work. And so, we're talking about traditional construction jobs, and we're talking about project management jobs, and engineering, and sales, and communications, and executive directors. We need to be making sure that that's accessible to everyone, because what that's going to do is make the industry stronger overall. The other thing that I really want to add is that we need to make sure that we're being very intentional about diversifying through people of color and making sure that minorities have similar opportunities to be in the industry. The industry is currently only like 7% African American, like 6% Latino and Hispanic. Like, it is unfortunate that those numbers are so low, but what I think the hope is that we are focused on being very intentional to make sure that we're diversifying the industry early on in the industry. And so because we're doing that, we're going to make the industry better, and we're going to make the industry more accessible by having very specific programs that attract women and minorities and people of color. So the thing that I do want to sort of just end on is that, this doesn't all just happen. Money doesn't just float from the skies. I mean, maybe that's how it works with you guys, or maybe in my own dreams, it's floating from the skies. But it's important to have good policy. And in order to scale this up, We have to have good, scalable financing products and good, scalable investment opportunities that are accessible by everyone. And so that is affordable housing providers that have multiple capital stacks that they're constantly trying to move around to make work. We need to add solar to that. Solar and storage, solar and EVs, all of the things. We also need to create a product that is accessible to everyone and not excluding individuals because of their FICO scores or because they don't have credit. We need to be making sure that folks are able to, be part of this transition without, with those sort of products that are provided by the financing industry. So with that, I want to sort of thank everyone for, being part of today. I think it's been a great conversation so far, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the other two talks. But I also really look forward to talking to a number of you in the audience today and around the country to make sure that we're really working towards that vision of making clean, renewable energy accessible to everyone. So thank you.